15 Strange Prison Celebrations from Around the World, Part 1.
If you are brand new to our channel, we invite you to take a moment to subscribe. Just click on the lit red button as well as the gray bell. Why the bell? Well, it will let you know every time we post a new video.
1. What Christmas looks like now. Like most of the holidays on the list, Christmas nowadays is celebrated depending on what security level facility you are in. For non-violent criminals serving short sentences, Christmas is a luxury you can still participate in. Inmates give other inmates homemade gifts or snacks bought from the commissary. The prison guards who have to spend Christmas behind bars for their job are always a little more lenient too, and often let people decorate their cells, even though that's prohibited in other places. When it comes to maximum security facilities, there's an entirely different story. Many people are hesitant to give gifts to other people out of fear of what the implications behind the present might be. And too much excitement and activity is too much for some inmates to handle, so they might act out and behave erratically. But even though prison serves a purpose to teach and punish, it's obvious that not every day has to be bleak torture for inmates, especially for those serving short periods of time for non-violent crimes. 2. What Christmas used to look like. Prisons in the 1920s used to be a little different than they are today. The prisoners were also much different. Nowadays, we have violent gangs that are massive enough to control neighborhoods inside and outside of prison. Gangs have been around for a long time, but they're more dangerous than they have been before. This means that maximum security facilities are more common in full. And it only took one bad Christmas celebration behind bars to ruin it for everyone. So Christmas in the 1920s looked a lot different than it does now. Prisoners used to be allowed to decorate their cells and they could even give each other presents. Obviously, Christmas is a religious holiday for many, so you can't always deny people the right to celebrate. But some things just seemed a bit lavish for these prisoners, like in the picture above. But things today have definitely changed. 3. Beauty pageant at Penitenciaria Feminina. Capital. If you've seen Orange is the New Black, you know that prison is not a glamorous place. You aren't really allowed to wear makeup, the clothing is baggy and non-form-fitting, and there's pretty much no way that you could really smell all that good. But that doesn't mean female prisoners don't get to look glamorous at least one day out of the year. At the Penitenciaria Feminina. Capital, prisoners of all sorts get to participate in the yearly beauty pageant. Most of the criminals are non-violent offenders and prisoners who have shown good behavior throughout their time serving. The pageant is a way to remind the women of their value and give them a chance to dress up and feel beautiful like they might have on the outside. It's all voluntary, and there is even a pageant for the masculine inmates who might identify with a male gender. It gives the prisoners something to look forward to as well as the opportunity to remember what freedoms they've given up for their crimes. 4. Some celebrate Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, depending on how optimistic or pessimistic you are, is supposed to be a romantic day that revolves around celebrating the love two close people share. It seems a little odd, then, that some people still celebrate this romantic day behind bars. Even though prisoners are separated by their sex, that doesn't mean two people locked up together can't still fall in love with each other. Some people hide their romantic relationships out of fear of getting harmed for a possible homosexual relationship. But the reality is, as our society becomes more accepting, so do people behind bars. Women locked up have always been known to be more tolerable of homosexuality as well. So people are definitely still dating, which means people are definitely still celebrating Valentine's Day too. And besides just the people behind bars together, there are plenty of couples that maintain relationships while one person is incarcerated and the other is not. Most of the prisoners have to use their resources inside to send out Valentines, though some low-security facilities allow prisoners to use the computer to send e-cards and even order presents online. Imbolc anywhere in the U.S. Part of what makes our country great sometimes, but terrifying others is our freedom of religion. With that freedom, you can't deny anyone anything that might be linked back to their religion. That is why prisoners everywhere are allowed to partake in celebrations revolving around lactating sheep. You read that right. The celebration is referred to as Imbolc, and is a pagan holiday. The holiday doesn't completely revolve around this lactating of sheep, but that's definitely a part of it. Pagans behind bars are also allowed to keep a magic wand and a book of shadows in their jail cell. Many facilities believe that, if you take a person's religion away, you take away their identity. You also risk taking them off track of something that might be leading them to a better and more productive life. How many once criminals have you heard of that turn to God? What do you think? 6. Constant celebrating at Venezuela's San Antonia prison. At one point, a prison in Venezuela opened a nightclub right inside the prison doors. The inmates were given cell phones so that they could invite friends and family to the premises. They were allowed to drink alcohol, and some got away with smoking marijuana and even doing crack cocaine in the alleys of the prison. Female entertainers were also hired to frequent the club and walk around wearing revealing bathing suits. All of this was done as an effort to reduce violence among the inmates. The fact of the matter is that this still cost money. Obviously, the prison charged people entry and for their drinks, meaning they could maintain it fine just like a business. Outsiders would bring their own money, so instead of a prison, it was like a real club. But where did the inmates get their income? Most of them would end up partaking in illegal businesses to make cash to hire sex workers and buy drugs. So instead of stopping violence, it just created more crime. 7. Birthdays in prisons. Just because someone is in prison doesn't mean that they don't still have a birthday. Life moves along inside just as it does on the outside, but at a much slower pace. Birthdays might be the most depressing celebration on the list, as they are almost not celebrated at all. We've all had a bad birthday before. We have one every year, and it's not like every single one can be perfect. But even your worst birthday is probably better than one behind bars. Many prisoners decide to keep quiet about their birthday. If another group or someone dangerous gets wind of your birthday, they might lash out or start a fight. Many people are sensitive to jealousy and don't like when the attention is turned on someone else. For those that aren't afraid to celebrate, things aren't much brighter either. Sometimes, if you have friends on the inside, they might put together a little celebration for you. Friends and families can also visit, but it's not like they'll be able to give you any presents. 8. Rodeos and bullfights at the San Jose El Alto prison. When you can control a prison, you can get away with a lot of corrupt business. You have a bunch of people under you who are more than willing to keep quiet, if it means they don't have to continue to act like prisoners. So for 6 years, the Picota prison in Bogota was the hotspot for many people looking for a party. The place would often host bullfights, bull riding, and other general party activity. The place was the perfect spot to have secured parties that could make a profit. There would be charges for entry, and plenty of sex workers frequented the spot in exchange for a small fee to the guards. In a place with low security, people with too much power can get away with abusing their power that much easier. And people still think private prisons are a good idea. At least no one's tax dollars were spent.